Hi, everyone. Okay. Hopefully, I can see comments. If there's anyone there at all, please post a comment straight away so I know that this is actually going to work this week. I'm a bit nervous because the comment section is grayed out. So please say hello as soon as you get on so that I know that it's working. I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I can see that there's about 3 of you there right now. So, I see comments. Yes. Hi, Audrey. Hello. Yay. We've got comments this week. I'm so happy. That was really disconcerting last week. I couldn't, not being able to talk to you guys it was quite awful. So, hi, Junita. Great. So we can actually do this properly. So, yay. Okay. So some quick news while I'm waiting for everyone to turn up. Don't forget to say hello as soon as you get here so that I know that you're here. And for all the lurkers, and I know there's a couple of you there. Oh, and a bubble. Thank you, Kathy. Hi, Kathy. Freak snowstorm socked in North Carolina. Actually, it's snowing here too. It's really bizarre. It was 15 below last week. Today it's +3, and I'm talking Celsius here, so don't freak out. And it's snowing too, and I think the snow is really, I'm just looking out the window here. It looks like it's trying to turn into rain because it's +3, so it's kind of interesting. Suddenly become aware that I say interesting a lot. I'm going to have to find another way to describe things that are, well, interesting. So, hi, Jomi. Hi, it's great to see you all here. Some quick news roundup. Just looking at my notes here. I've had a couple of emails from people saying they're having problems posting reviews to the book page on my site, in particular for Pendragon Rises, which is comes out on Thursday. Let me know if you've tried and couldn't do it for some reason, and if you can tell me what the error message is, I can start analyzing. Unfortunately, I go in and try posting a review for myself, and I have no issues at all. So I can't recreate the error and figure out what's going on. So let me know if you're having any issues, and try and give me as much detail as possible. I might be able to narrow down what the issue is. There are people that are posting reviews without any issues, so it seems to be kind of hit and miss. We'll see how it goes. Also news, my mum arrives tomorrow. I can't believe after like 6 months or more of planning this, it's actually tomorrow she gets here. So this is going to be really interesting. Hi, Cheryl. Hi, Heather. Great to see you here. Yes, no. It's yucky. And Dina is here too. Hi, Dina. Dina says, just got on. Her computer's really slow. Hope she can keep up. It seems like we're operating as normal, Dina. So hopefully you should be fine. We'll see how it goes. So yes, my mum is here tomorrow. This is 6 months or more of planning, because my mum started talking about coming for Christmas like way back in March, somewhere around about there. And then April said, yep, okay, I'm going to come, which for me meant, oh my God, because when you're coming from Australia, it takes 2 days to get here. You really don't want to just spend a week and then fly all the way back again. That just seems like stupid to me, particularly as it takes so much time to get here and it's so expensive, especially if you're on the west coast of Australia, because that means that you have to cross Australia first, and internal fares in Australia are horrendously expensive, just like they are in Canada. America, I know it's really stupid. You can cross from New York to LA for like, $250. It's ridiculously cheap, even cheaper than that if you look around. But not so in Australia. It's horribly expensive. So you add that on, and plus the 5 or so hours of transit time to get to the other side, Then you've got to cross the Pacific. Then you've got to travel up North America to actually get to Canada. So it's a really long trip. Not something that you're going to do and then turn around and do it again to come back home in 1 week's time. That's ridiculous. So she's coming for 6 weeks, which is great. Have to say that up front. But that's 6 weeks where I can't just sit there and work in my usual fashion, which is like sit at my desk for 8-10 hours a day and just ignore everyone. Not while my mum's here. That's and not over Christmas. So in April, when she said she was going to come, I thought, okay, what I can do is try and work ahead so that I can take all those 6 weeks off while she's here. That meant getting 6 weeks worth of books written in advance. It also meant getting as many of the blog posts and emails done before I officially went on vacation. And I must admit that back in April, when I decided to try and do this, I was thinking, oh, this is going to be, I mean, I'm already, pretty maxed out when it comes to the writing. The good news is on Friday, I finished. I got all the blog posts done. I'd actually had the books done a few weeks ago, a couple of weeks ago, 3-4 weeks ago. But so then the big push was on to try and get all the blog posts and emails written in advance. Those are the ones that don't have any timing involved. So they're not time critical. There's not links involved in them that are that might be out of date or anything. So there's still a lot of blog posts to come that I have to write because they've got links in them or they need to be timed in some way. But not all the ones that can be scheduled ahead are done. So that means for the next 6 weeks, I get to do nothing. It's a vacation. I haven't had a vacation in about 3 years. So I'm really looking forward to it. The last blog post I did was, I could feel I was really tired. And I'm done with that stuff for right now. So for 6 weeks, I'm not going to sit around drinking fruity drinks with little parasols or anything because there's no sun. But my mum is into making things as much as I'm into making things. And she's already said she's bringing all her knitting and her crochet patterns from Australia. Here is a piece of trivia for you. When crochet patterns, there are 2 languages. There's the English version of crochet patterns and the American version of crochet patterns. I can actually use both. I'm bilingual because I know what stitch means in American, what it means in Australian. So I can convert, no problems. But my mum has the world's worst time reading an American pattern and translating. So she's bringing all her Australian patterns with her. So we're probably just going to sit around for 6 weeks and binge on knitting and crochet and making things and stuff like that. So I'll have to show you some of that stuff when I get there. And I'm so looking forward to it. This is just really, it's going to be fun. And I know right now, I can tell you, I am not going to get nearly as much done as I would really like to. But I am going to get some stuff done, which is the bit I'm looking forward to. So let me have a quick look at comments. Audrey, enjoy your visit with your mum. Thank you, I will. And Dina, I checked out around 30 years ago on the price. Price for flights to Australia, yeah, $1,500 from DC, and that's in American dollars. It's about 2,500 Canadian, which would probably convert to about $2,000 American to get from Edmonton to Perth. And that's the long, slow, 12-hour layovers everywhere. It could take you up to 3 days. That's the cheapest fare you can get. If you want to get a more direct flight, and you can go basically Perth, Sydney, and then straight up to Vancouver and over to Edmonton. It'll cost you an extra $500,000 for that more direct flight with no extra layovers. So yeah, it's really expensive. It's not something that you want to do and then just rush back a week later. Jeremy, congratulations. Thank you. Yes, it is a real achievement. It's not one I thought I would pull off, but I did it. And Dina, as fast as you think and create your newsletters, etc., you can do. See, I know you could do it. Well, thank you, Dina. I appreciate that. I wasn't entirely sure. I mean, it was a bit of a challenge even for me. So, and Heather, you're going to have a ball. I absolutely am. I am so looking forward to this. It's so much fun. So anyway, Friday I finished. And I think I had a little bit of cleanup to do on Saturday. Yesterday, I cleaned my entire house from top to bottom. It took me hours and hours and hours. But now my back is really hurting. I'm sort of using muscles that I don't really use all that often because I'm usually just sitting in the chair here and let my house go. And of course, I've not done any housework for ages and ages except for sheer essentials because I needed to get all this writing done. So yesterday, because I had got to the point where it was just driving me crazy, I cleaned everything to a fare thee well. And so I've got a nice clean house now for when my mum arrives. So Karen, hi Karen, you made it. Hi. I was just talking about Australia and how expensive it is to get to Canada from there, especially if you're on the West Coast, but you're on the East Coast these days, so you just get to hop across the pond. And let me see. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. And this morning I just got to do a few of the little essentials. This is what my days are going to be like for the next 6 weeks. When Mark goes to work, I head down to my desk. I do all the essentials. There'll be, the occasional blog post, production. This morning I was doing the very final edition of Rules of Engagement and uploaded. So that's uploaded, ready to go, but that's a few weeks off yet. So, but we'll get there. And that's what my day is going to be like from now on. And this morning, after I had finished all that essential stuff and answered emails and all that sort of stuff, I got to finish wrapping all the gifts that we've got. We've finally done all the shopping, including the very last stuff. It's all done. It's now I just get to wrap everything. And there's a nice little upstairs. There's a nice little pile of presents wrapped up there. One of the things I wanted to ask you, any unique tips on how you wrap your presents? I have been using the same gift bags and the same tags and tissue paper, and for years, basically, I just keep recycling. But that's why I like the bags, because it's not like the paper's ruined once they've pulled the present out. But there's some really unique stuff. My daughter, a couple of years ago, wrapped all her presents in brown paper. And then as a bow, she got some hessian material that she folded and tied into a big bow on the top. They look great. I mean, you don't have to have the green and the red for Christmas and stuff like that. So what unique things do you do to wrap your presents? One of the things that I did a couple of years ago was I bought a paper punch that punches out little snowflakes out of paper. So I just get my printer paper and I'll go crazy punching out the snowflakes, which I can stick on presents and all that sort of stuff. I also once, I did about 600 of these snowflakes in paper, put them in a plastic bag and sent them to my mum and said it was Alberta beach sand. But I also wear the paper where I've punched out the snowflakes, I'll trim off and it turns into a ribbon that's got snowflake shapes punched out of it. So that gets useful too. I can tie that in bows and things like that. And no comments right now. Can you say hi? Just let me know comments haven't crash dived. I've become suddenly paranoid about comments. Let me know that you're still there. Let me see. Oh, suddenly got comments all over the place. Thank you. Dino, in the past I used the Sunday comic section, which is in color. Haven't got the paper in years. I don't even know if they still have a comic section anymore. Yeah, I don't know either. I haven't bought a newspaper in years and years and years. But neat idea. I've used, well, pretty much any paper that's lying around. One of the things I did a couple of years ago is after Christmas, so like the next week in between Christmas, New Year, or after New Year, go to the fabric store. They've always got a sale on for all the Christmas fabrics. It's a fairly cheap cotton. But if you buy yards and yards of it, you can actually use the fabric to wrap the presents with, and it's recyclable, of course, too. If you have a look for furoshiki, it's Japanese gift wrapping using cloth. And there is so many different ways of wrapping things. They've got ways to wrap bottles, and they've got ways you can actually use a furoshiki cloth and turn it into a temporary handbag with different knots and stuff like that. It's really amazing what you can do with them. But I bought the material because I figured I can use them to make to wrap presents instead of using paper. And Audrey says, I buy penny candy and make garlands for the presents. Okay, must be an American thing. I'm not quite sure what penny candy is. Maybe somebody can explain that to me. But it sounds really good. I'm presuming that it's something that's very cheap that you glue together. That sounds kind of cute. Mary Weiler. Hi, Tracy. Hi, Mary. Hello. Kathy, I have some Korean fabric gift squares that I use to wrap smaller gifts, completely reusable. Yeah, there we go, Kathy. You just, yep, good idea. Yeah, the Japanese, and I guess it sounds like the Koreans do it too. They actually have whole stores devoted to selling just the furoshiki squares, and they're huge. They're usually about 1 meter square. But you can get smaller or larger sizes, and they come in beautiful silks, and they're hemmed, and they're gorgeous. But I just got the cheap cotton Christmas stuff from the fabric store. Picked it up when it was on sale straight after Christmas. So that's what I use. Janita, I used brown paper to wrap and then drew a color of Santa on the present like a coloring book, then added a red bow. Yeah, there we go. That's a good one too. I'm not artistic when it comes to that sort of stuff. I don't think I could hand draw anything. I can write very neat. You should see my gift tags. The names on the gift tags are copper plate. They're gorgeous. But when it comes to freehand drawing, not me. So, but if you can freehand draw, that would be really good. And you get the fun of coloring in too, don't you? So gave it an old-fashioned look. I'm sure it did. It used to be, do you remember the movie Sound of Music and My Favorite Things, and they're talking about brown paper packages tied up with string? I mean, literally, that's how they used to be. That's I will have to look it up because I'm not entirely sure, unless somebody's really fast here and can go check on Google. I don't know when pre-printed Christmas wrapping paper was invented. It's been around as long as I can remember. But obviously during World War II, everything was wrapped in brown paper. And I guess they put bows on it and things like that for Christmas. But brown paper and string was pretty standard in those days. So Audrey says, I also buy cheap but cute t-shirts to wrap presents. Now that's a kind of cool idea. That's not one that I had thought of. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm going to put a like on that one. The only problem is I don't think you can get super, super cheap t-shirts in Canada. Clothing in the United States is a lot cheaper than it is up here. So, but still, I mean, if you could pick up the cheap t-shirts. Heather, still here listening, thinking about Christmas too, what to do. That's when we're getting our gifts in the sales. So you're buying after Christmas for your Christmas gifts. That's an interesting idea. I said interesting again. Okay. Jomi, nothing biggie on gift wrapping. To kids, it's all the same, but I like putting on ribbons. Presents look more special with ribbons. They certainly do. I love all the bows that you can make too, the big gift bows and stuff like that. I actually found a pattern to crochet one of those bows where you just pull the string and it just turns into a bow. It's just two long ribbons of crochet, and then you pull the string and it just folds itself all up and turns itself into a bow. Kind of cute. I'm going to give that one a try. Obviously not for this year, but when I've got some spare time in front of TV, I may sew that one, crochet that one, because it's just straight stitches all the way through. Marcia Buckton, good morning. Good morning, Marcia. I don't think we've seen you here before. Welcome. Join the crowd. We're just talking about gift wrapping and different ways of gift wrapping for Christmas. This is an impromptu discussion. I actually had something else on the books, which we'll get to. Whereabouts are you, Marcia? Let us know. Dina, for local gifts, I've used my Buñuelo recipe. Did I say that right? You'll have to let me know. Cut out stars that I tie on my presents. That's got to be something Mexican or Tex-Mex. You're definitely going to have to explain that one to me, Dina. I also put on tree the night before Christmas, so they're still fresh. Yes, definitely you're going to have to explain that one, because there's about half of that I don't quite understand. Audrey, hard candy, can glue it together or string it. Like Jolly Ranchers. I love Jolly Ranchers. They make my cheeks. But of course I don't eat sugar these days, so I've had to let the Jolly Ranchers go. But oh, I do like Jolly Ranchers. I like that really hard candy. That sounds like a good idea too. Janita, oh yeah, love Sound of Music. I think, yeah, we all did. I loved watching it the first time. I didn't get to see it because I grew up without television and movies and all that sort of stuff. I didn't actually get to see Sound of Music until I was an adult, and I watched it on videotape. And yeah, I was amazed by the movie, and it was already 25 years old by then. So Mary, I'm going to have to try the fabric wrapping. My niece asked for one of Grandma's sewing machines to learn sewing. Fabric will serve as wrapping and practice fabric at the same time. Yeah, actually that would... Sorry, guys. Mary, that's actually a really good idea, because she can practice hemming and she can try different hems. The other thing she can do is try hemming two pieces at the same time, so that the fabric wrapping is lined with another piece of material. But yeah, that's a good idea. And Laurie, I sew Christmas bags for presents. Yes, that's something that I actually bought the fabric, the cheap Christmas fabric, because I wanted to make the bags, but me and my infinite spare time, I always overestimate what I can get done. So one of these days I will actually turn the fabric into bags. But yes, do you do just the drawstring, or do you have a particular pattern that you use? Do you do the wrapping? Let us know. Masha, 1917, Joyce Clyde Hall and his brother Raleigh invented the modern Christmas wrapping paper. Thank you. 1917. Holy wow. I didn't think it was that old. That's amazing. Masha, you're in Perth. My hometown. Hi. So which suburb? You have to tell me. I was in East Cannington for years and years, and my mum's in Margaret River. Everyone else is going, huh? But you know what I mean. So Dina, yes, Mexican dessert that is usually rolled into the shape of a stick and rolled in cinnamon and or sugar, and it sounds absolutely lethal calorie-wise, but my goodness. If you're willing, Dina, would you be willing to share your recipe? You could, I don't know if everyone else here would like it, but send it to me if you like, Dina, and I'll pass it on to everyone else, or you post it in comments or a link if you've got one. And Marsha is in Morley, Morley Shopping Centre. Yes, I've been there many times. So hello. So let's get down to today's little session. Okay, finding time to read more books, especially at this time of year, because we're all absolutely flat-tat bickies doing Christmas shopping and Christmas wrapping and cleaning houses for relatives that are about to arrive and joyful things like that. Although I mean, I cleaned it because it was driving me crazy anyway. But so this is your chance to give me your best tips. I actually got one by email during the week. And I've lost the email, unfortunately. I thought I had it nice and safe, but it has disappeared in the meantime. But a reader emailed me, and her tip was to unsubscribe from all the author newsletters and use the time that you would use to read those to read your books instead. At which point I suggested that I should be honored that she's actually still subscribed to my newsletter. But yes, and I suspect that we all read way too many newsletters and blogs in our time. And I tend to limit my blog reading to, just in the morning just after I've eaten breakfast, I'll skim through all the topics. I actually have all my blogs feeding into a blog reader, an RSS feed reader. So I can scan all the titles, and then I'll just click on the ones that interest me and archive the rest, and then I can just go through the blog posts very quickly. So I've actually cut down on the number of blogs and newsletters that I read. I used to have like 200. A lot of it was industry stuff, but a lot of it's repetitious too. So I found if I cut it down to just a few, it becomes a lot more manageable. But I'm always worried that I'm going to miss out on really good information. So it's kind of a fine-edged sword, that one. Laurie, sewing bags. I make basic drawstring bags. I have also made giant stockings. I actually found giant stockings like the traditional red and white ones at the dollar store. They're huge, and I will put smaller presents in those, but drawstring bags are good too. Jomi, oh my God, I've been audio booking instead of listening to music while doing chores. It's better than not having a book at all. Yeah, okay. True. I think it's great if there is a chore that you do that doesn't require a lot of mental ability or a mental processing. Driving, walking, standing in line in queues and things like that. Unfortunately for me, I just don't have that sort of downtime. Most of the time I need to be 100% present and thinking things through. So I don't actually get to read a lot of audiobooks, and I don't listen to podcasts for the same reason. I sometimes wish I did, because that seems to be the way everyone's passing on information these days on podcasts. And Marsha with hubby and 6 kids. 6 kids. Wow. My hat is off to you. That 6 kids is amazing. Working 6 nights a week, I give myself 20 minutes each night to read. It is my escape from reality. Yeah, I'm pretty much down to just reading. Just before bed is my primary reading period, although most nights I'm too tired and I get like 2 pages in and the phone drops. That's it, I'm done. Mary gets up half an hour earlier. The dogs love it and I still get everything done. That is a good one. I get up at an insanely awful hour. I get up at 4:30 in the morning. It used to be 5 a.m., but then Mark and I decided to move the alarm back by 30 minutes so that we could actually get a bit more done in our day. But that also means I'm in bed by, 8, just because you need the sleep. But yeah, we got up earlier as well. And Linda, same here. I even listen while I'm at work if I'm on my own. I love Audible. Yes, audiobooks are picking up in popularity these days. Kathy, try ending every day with 30 minutes of reading. That's what my hubby does every day now. Helps him unwind from his busy work day. Yes. The only thing is I'm so trained by the fact that I'm reading, which means sleep, that, 2 pages in and I clonk out for the night. So, Ava. Hi, Ava. I like to listen to audiobooks on my commute to work, when I'm working at my spinning wheel, when I'm cooking, or when I'm sewing. Oh my God. You sew and you spin? You're the first person I've met who spins. That's amazing. Do you weave your own cloth as well, or do you just spin wool? So let us know. And Linda, driving distances is great, best with a great book. I presume audiobook for that one. And hello. Cheryl, I do a few different things, but the one that has worked best is making my husband and daughter find a show they like that I don't. And they watch it after Dylan while I'm in the bedroom reading. So each night I have 45 to 60 minutes every night. That is a sneaky one. I like that one. That's good. So, Linda, driving distances is the best with a good audiobook. Yes. Yeah. Jomi, Linda, I'll leave that one. Karen, I go through a book a week. Reading is my bedside ritual. Audible as well. Okay, yeah, I think reading at night just before going to sleep seems to be pretty much a standard for everyone. Ava, I don't weave. I was actually taught to spin by a friend of mine who lives outside of Melbourne. She taught me via video chat. Wow. Well, kudos to you for picking up from video. That's kind of amazing. Video chat, the quality of the video is not outstanding. So I've watched people spinning on YouTube and stuff like that. It looks like it's difficult to pick up for the first time around. So do you spin yarn and then knit it or sell it? Let us know. And yes, hi, Linda. Mary, I used to get up at 4:30 every day for work and drive an hour to get there. So glad I was forced to retire. Oh my goodness, yes. So I hope you got to, clock off at like 1:30 or something like that. That sounds like an insane time to start working. I mean, we get up at 4:30, but we've got, 2 hours before Mark has to head off for work. So, okay, and now I was going to give you some of my tips because I'm supposed to be, a time management expert. So here's some of the things that I've done for freeing up time, not necessarily for book reading, although now I've got 6 weeks of vacation time. I may actually squeeze a few more books in. But I still managed to get a fair number of books read in a year. And here's some of the things that I do. So let me see. Well, number one, I read on my phone and I read ebooks. I just explained I don't get to listen to audiobooks very much because I'm never really doing tasks that I can just keep my hands busy and listen. So I read actual text, and I read it on my phone because, one, you've always got your phone with you no matter where you are. 2, ebooks are way cheaper than print books. 3, I always forget to take the print book with me and my glasses. So I never read the thing. I really just don't read print books anymore. And cell phone is of course one-handed reading. If you use the volume button to page down to turn the page, then there's nothing else you need to do. So it's really great if you need to use the other hand for something else, or for standing in lines or something like that. You can usually get a screen or two of text read while you're standing in line waiting. So I have my reading app on the front screen, and it always pops up with the latest book. So all I have to do is just press the icon, and away I go. I can start reading straight away. I usually get a few pages done standing in line or waiting for people like that. I read at night before sleeping, yes, and sometimes I go to bed early just so I can get some extra reading in, particularly if it's a good book. Also, the other thing that I do is because I've got like the PC, the desktop, and my cell phone, and I've got a laptop upstairs that sits on the kitchen counter next to Mark's laptop, and that's where we exchange news and stuff in the morning over breakfast. And I also have a tablet, which I don't use nearly as often, but that's around. It's actually sitting on my work table at the moment. That's where all my patterns and pattern instructions are, is on the tablet. All 4 of those devices synchronize, including, and that's why I sort of moved away from the Kindle app, which everyone seems to. Kindle's great for syncing as long as you're syncing to a mobile device. If you're trying to read a book on PC, then it doesn't sync very well at all. There's some books, if you've got a shared library with another member of the family, you can't get those books. If you've uploaded samples, you can't get them on the PC, and there's all sorts of funny rules that Amazon seems to have. But I found that even though I buy from Amazon, I convert to EPUB, and then I put them up on Google Play, which will let you upload your own books. And Google Play syncs across everything. So I can read on my PC, which is actually where I end up reading a lot of non-fiction, is on the PC, because you get the double screen and the 2 pages. So it's good for the big layouts and stuff like that. So I do a lot of reading on the PC during the day, with textbooks and historical books and non-fiction like that. So yeah, I sort of squeeze in a lot of reading that way. And let's see what other hints we've got. Ava, I spin yarn to knit. I'm not great at it because I don't do all the time, but I can control the thickness for the project I want to make. Well, that's actually very good, because getting the consistent thickness of the yarn is supposed to be the hardest part of learning to spin, I understand. I have done some research. I had to do some research about spinning and stuff for the King Arthur series. So, Heather, that's what I do. Not sure what it is that you do, Heather, but good. So, because of the delay in the comments, I'm not entirely sure what you're talking about. So, Linda, my son, who is in year 8 going into year 9 next year, hated to read for school. I got him onto Audible, and now he's obsessed. Win-win. Yeah, actually that does seem to work quite well. Whatever it takes, however you want to read. Even though I don't read audiobooks myself, I think they're great because it gets people who wouldn't read otherwise into reading, or actually, to put it another way, it gets them hooked on stories. And I'm all for everyone being hooked on stories. The more stories, the better. Stories rule, remember, that's my motto. So yeah, if it's audiobooks, or if you want to read print books, or if you want someone to read them to you, I honestly don't care how people consume their stories. What's important to me is that they do consume stories. And it almost breaks my heart when I hear about people that haven't read a book since they left high school. I honestly do not understand how people can go through life and not consume stories of one sort or another. Of course, these days, most of the story consumption is TV series and movies. And that's fine too, that you're still getting the power of story. Although movies, the storytelling is quite shortened sometimes, because they need so much time for the special effects and the battles and all that sort of stuff. But TV series storytelling is getting better every year, and there's just so much out there now that you can find something. But yeah, if I had my way, I would wave a magic wand and everyone would be hooked on stories in whatever form they wanted to read them. So Jomi, how do we convert Kindle books to EPUB? Jomi, there is an application out there called Calibra or Calibre. I've never found out which is the correct way to pronounce that. Calibre. It's the Calibre ebook management program or management app. And I use that. I have installed it on my PC. I use that. What it does is basically just manage all your ebooks for you. And what you can do when you set it up, because I get ebooks from multiple sources. I buy them from Google, I buy them from Kobo, I buy them from Amazon. I am not store centric at all. And plus I get books that I'm downloading from other authors and newsletter signups and freebies and book funnel promos and stuff like that. So ebooks these days you can get from a dozen different sources. So Calibra just gives you a place where you can park everything. And Calibra is great because you can bring a book into Calibra and it will go off and it will collect all the blurb and the author and all the metadata for the book and add it to the book. It will also, once you set it up in settings, when you bring a book in, it will convert it to your preferred format. So if you want everything to be in Kindle format, once you bring a book in, it will automatically convert it to Kindle for you. It can also, depending on your reader, it can talk to your reader and synchronize the data there. So when you find a book that you want to read in your library, you just click a button and it'll upload it to your reader, including Kindles and the Kindle app. It'll upload it to the Amazon cloud. But you do have to read the documentation. By the way, this is a completely free program. He relies on donations, and I've donated over the years because I think it's a brilliant program. But have a look for the Calibra ebook manager and check that one out. But that's how I convert my books, is I use that program. Linda, so true, he will now read either way. Yes, that's the thing is, once they're hooked by stories, there's poor suckers, they're gone for life. So Heather, same as you with the phone and the tablet. Yes, can't get into audio yet. And it doesn't really matter. You don't have to get into audio. I mean, however you get to consume your stories is the way that you do it. I probably would listen to a lot more audio if I sort of had I was going to say a daily commute, but my daily commute is 30 seconds at the moment. But when I did have a daily commute, I used that time for writing rather than reading. And I think that's the difference between me and a lot of other readers, because I would much rather spend my time creating the stories instead of just reading them. But anyway, Joni, thank you, Tracy. I'd love to organize my ebooks too. Can you believe I have 3 apps for ebooks? I believe it. I absolutely believe it. I actually have the Kindle app on all my devices because I buy books from Amazon. So I need somewhere for them to land. And that's where you use the Kindle app. But once it lands on the PC, which is where Calibra is installed, then Calibra will pick it up and bring it into the management program, into the library, and convert it. And then when I'm ready, I can just upload it to Google Play. Google Play Books have got a really good app that lets you actually read whatever books you upload on any device. It just synchronizes like the Kindle does, and it doesn't get fussy about which device you're using. So, oh, Jomi, you're welcome. Karen, audio is good if I want to keep my Fitbit happy. Doing your 10,000 steps a day. So, Heather, I do prefer to read a story. Actually, yes, so do I, Heather. I suspect that because everyone that listens to audiobooks is also doing something else at the same time, I have to wonder how much of the story they might be missing on the way through. But like I said, I don't care if that's the only way that they can get stories into their life, then that's the only way they can do it. So it's one way that at least they're not missing out. So, okay. Just for a second, any more questions? Is anyone lurking? Hasn't said hello yet? Don't be shy. Say hello. It's the only way I know that you're here. So, and I'm just going to have another mouthful of water. Hang on. 3 questions into comments. Excuse me, I'm going to have to clear my throat again. Holy, wow. And we're already at 45 minutes. Holy cow. After last week where I lasted, I think, a grand total of about 17 minutes because of the no comments. Look what you guys are doing to me. You're making me talk. It's all your fault. So. And I did say that I was going to give a free book for the best comment. And you know what? I don't know that I can pick out a comment because everyone's talking here. So everyone's contributing. Mary, I'm a lifelong reader. Turns out I'm not an auditory learner and block out the sounds as white noise. Interesting. Yeah, I'm because I was reading books from, I was hooked into stories when I was 7. And yeah, I've pretty much been reading ever since. So Mickey, hello Mickey, you're a new name too. Hello. I still prefer print books. Yeah, there are a few people around that I make that sound very exclusionary, don't I? There are people who still prefer print books. I just find them really inconvenient because I got to remember to take them with me, and I got to remember to have my glasses, and whereas my cell phone's always with me. And I've pretty much been reading ebooks since I started writing for Alora's Cave, which is, way back in the dinosaur era. So I got converted pretty early. Actually, no, that's not true. I lied. I started reading ebooks when I sold my very first ebook to, how many people remember this? Hardshell Word Factory. Bet you can date yourself if you remember Hardshell Word Factory. That was my very first ebook sale, and I've been reading ebooks ever since. Now, that was 1999. Hardshell Word Factory were way ahead of everyone else. So, Domi, free books for all. Very interesting comment. I'll have to have a think about that one. Janita, you write so many stories, it is hard to keep things fresh. And do you reuse situations maybe across genres when writing? No, actually. I sometimes will, well, it's not even recycling, but I tend to run the gamut. For instance, Constantinople's been pretty much a constant in a lot of books, but used in very, very different ways. King Arthur keeps turning up in one way or another, always in very different ways, from one series to another. Usually the books are made unique because of the characters and situations. So even if I end up resetting it again in Constantinople, it'll be a different story anyway. You won't think, oh, I remember that market square from such and such. I have that advantage because I'm not doing a TV series where everyone goes, oh, I've seen that before. So that's the advantage that I have. So I have themes and favorites that sort of stick around for a while, and then I realize that, I think I've used this a bit too often. It's sort of like the word interesting. I'll notice a pattern setting up, so I'll try very hard to just avoid using that from now on. The trends come and go, so you could probably, if you read my books from the very beginning, the first book I ever wrote, and then read them in the order that I wrote them, you would probably pick up the patterns, and you could probably tell where I went, we've been using that too often, and moved off on another tangent. So, but No, I don't ever go, oh, I can't be bothered, let's just put it in Constantinople. I usually try for something fresh and different. It really helps that I've got a curiosity bump the size of a mountain, and I'm constantly reading about interesting places and people and things and cultures and history and stuff like that. So there's always something else churning away in the background that provides information for the next story. Hope that answered the question, Janita. Cheryl, my problem with print books is that I have too many and now have so many boxed up to make room. I've got a solution for that, Cheryl. Move countries. I did that. I moved from Australia to Canada, and in my infinite wisdom figured that, well, they're Western countries. They're both Commonwealth countries. I'll sell all my books in Australia before I leave so that I can raise the money for the airfare. And then I'll just buy them again, you know, gradually pick up new copies when I'm in Canada. One, there are books that I had in Australia you can't get in Canada. I learned that one the hard way. And two, now a lot of the books that I had when I was in Australia that I sold off, and they broke my heart getting rid of them, especially at secondhand markets, because, you know, people will hold it up and say, I'm not paying $5 for this, I'll give you $1. And it's like, well, do I take the $1 or do, you know, I get snotty about it. In the end, I'd take the $1, but because I needed the money for the airfare. But oh wow, stories that I love and books that I love, and these people are going, oh, I'll give you $1. So that was heartbreaking. But most of the books that I remember having in Australia, because I didn't bring a list with me, I've now picked up pretty much all of them in ebook format, which is great. So I get to read them all over again. But yes, storage for print books is an issue. One of these days I'll show you the print books that we have. The ones behind me, they're all how to write books and stuff like that. They're not the fiction books. The fiction books are on the other side of the room, and they take up more space. And these are just the books that we don't want to get rid of. And some of them we've already got in ebook format, but yeah, they're taking up room. I share your pain, Cheryl. So, Marsha, I love my ebooks, I presume, but love my paperbacks too. Yes, and there was one paperback I bought with me from Australia. It was all I would allow myself, and thank God, because you can't get it anymore. It's completely out of print. So, Cheryl, I started reading ebooks this summer and found it so much more convenient. Yes, absolutely. Especially if you read fantasy at all, you know, you got 1,000 pages in your hand that you got to keep holding with two hands. It's nice if you got a cell phone, you can just read one hand. I love when you read similarities with an author. It sort of gets you to know them a bit more, if that makes sense. Yes, it actually does make sense, Linda. Particularly if you know a little bit about the author and you know that they're having a love affair with King Arthur and have all their life, you can pick up the references, even if the indirect references along the way. Robert Heinlein, who's one of my favorites, is a cat lover. He's got cats all through his books. So every time he's talking about cats, I'm thinking that's because you like them so much. So, Jomi, I can never sell my books. No, it will break my heart. Yes, it hurt. It was awful. I had the world's worst time, but I needed the money more. So it was kind of like I consoled myself with the fact that, well, I couldn't pack them up and take them with me. It just wasn't possible. So I just consoled myself with, well, when I get to Canada, I can buy new versions because they were pretty well thumbed by the time I let them go. So, Marsha, do you miss Tim Tams? Oh, do I ever? There is a mint one that when I took Mark to Australia a few years ago, it was his first visit, and he got to taste the mint Tim Tams, which you can't get here. You can actually get, there's like 2 or 3 flavors they do export. And because in Canada, you've got to have French on the label as well as the English, I think it's pretty expensive to export into Canada. So there's only the 3 flavors that you can get here.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't eat them anymore anyway because they've got the biscuit in it, which has got gluten. If they come up with a gluten-free one, I'm going to be in so much trouble. But yes, I really miss the mint ones. They were delicious. So Audrey, ebooks work great. I borrow many of mine from the library. Yes, Overdrive. That's one of the reading apps that you can use as well. I don't actually like Overdrive because it won't let me upload my own books. Google Play will let me upload my own books, but if you're borrowing ebooks from the library, then Overdrive is your only choice. I think that's the only way you can download them, at least for most of the libraries in North America. Depending which country you're sitting in, your local library network may use a different application. Audrey, I gave most of my books away when we moved. Almost 3,000 of them, most went to friends. Wow. Yeah, I don't think I was quite up to 3,000. I had a lot, but giving them to friends sounds like a good way to do it. At least you feel like they're being treasured and valued after that. So yeah, it was just me selling them just really hurt. It was awful. Jeremy, did you at least take photos of your old books? I take photos of the books I love. Is that normal? I hadn't thought of it that way. One of the things, well, I didn't take photos of the books that I got rid of, that I sold. It didn't occur to me then because that was 22 years ago and it was still film in cameras. So that would have been really expensive. But one of the things that, well, Calibra now, of course, is my index management system. It's my index file system. It's like a library index. You know the old card indexes they used to have in the libraries? Well, Calibra is basically, that is my master file of every ebook that I have. It's also, you can put in entries there into Calibra for your print books. And the really cool thing about that is when you've got, once you've put the print books title and author in it, you can tell it to go off and get the metadata. So Calibra will go off and get it and bring down a copy of the cover. And you can pick which cover you want. So I find that that's kind of what I do is when I download, when I've got one of my favorite books from Australia, instead of using the current cover, I'll go off and find a copy of the cover that the book used to have when I owned it in Australia. And I'll put that on the ebook in Calibra. And if you reformat in Calibra, it will keep that cover. So even when I upload it to Google Play, it's still got the old cover. So it's kind of a sentimental thing that way. So I think that's kind of the same thing as what you're talking about, taking photos. I think you're going to love Calibra, Jeremy. ISBN, International Standard Book Number. Is that what you're asking, what it means? Yes. It's every book has its own individual ISBN number, except some of the books that are released by indie authors who don't bother with an ISBN because they don't have to if they're only publishing to, say, Amazon or something like that. I put an ISBN on all my books because that puts it into the international library system as well. So okay, excuse me again. You're all making me talk too much today. So I was going to give a free book to everyone who, to the person with the best how to find more time to read. And I've decided because you're all so fantastically contributive today, you're all chatting away like crazy. I told you it was your fault I'm talking too much. You can all have a book. So email me at tracy@tracycooperposey.com. And this also applies if you happen to be watching this on replay, but only until the end of the week. So if you happen to be watching this a month from now, don't get excited. The deal's off. But for the next week, because I know there are a lot of people that come back and watch this on replay because they're off working and things like that. So email me at tracy@tracycooperposey.com and ask me for a coupon to get yourself a free book. And thank you, everyone, for contributing and talking and making me talk too much. So before we wrap up, any questions, any comments? One of the things I was thinking of for next week, I want to talk about, because I got into this morning. This is something that's just cropped up for me. Christmas candies and cookies recipes. Let's swap, because I went researching for some good ones today, and it was kind of interesting. None of the ones that I remember from Christmas were actually available. They're all, I presume, North American. So if you're, well, it doesn't matter where you are, whatever you cook or whatever your family tends to serve up for Christmas for cookies and candies, biscuits and treats, let's talk about that next week. And we can all share with each other. So let me have a look. Kathy, you're welcome. Jeremy, you're welcome. It's your fault. You started this. You mentioned it. Marsha, nice to meet you. Yes, you too, Marsha. Do come back. So Audrey, thanks, Tracy. Yes, and Audrey, of course, does not need any of the books from the Kiss Across Time series because she won the entire print collection, which is somewhere between you and me right now. Hope your tracking number is kicked in by now. Janita, thank you. Happy holidays. You too, Janita. Mary, thank you. No problems. Heather, no problems. Marsha, chocolate crackle reindeers. Oh, chocolate crackle. Wow. That's something I haven't heard since I left Australia. It's been a while. So, Linda, I have to go now. Have a beaut day. You too, Linda. Thank you very much for coming, stopping by. Okay. So, unless somebody frantically waves at me, let's wrap this up. I will see you next week where we can talk about all things chocolate and good and see what we can get up to next week. Okay, so bye. Have a great week.